I want to show you something. This is a glass dumpster for bottles. Those are not all our bottles, but we do recycle here sometimes. And the thing is, when it's empty, you can throw your stuff in, and you can hear it. You can hear it break into thousands of pieces. Can you imagine somebody doing that and then changing their mind and deciding, man, I'm gonna crawl in there and I'm gonna get all the shards and put it back together again? That's not gonna happen. Have you ever felt shattered like that? Have you ever felt like something has happened? You've done something, somebody else has done something, and there's just no coming back from it. You're shattered. It can be grief, a traumatic loss of some kind. It can be a relationship. Shattered. Irreparably shattered. How do you come back from something like that? Psalm 147 was written to a bunch of Jewish people whose lives had been shattered. The Babylonian Empire had come in, had conquered Jerusalem and the whole nation. They had leveled Jerusalem, reduced it to rubble. They actually had a system, a way to conquer any entity they thought was a threat. They would just reduce the city to rubble, and then they would drag everybody away, and they would scatter them to the far reaches of the empire, because they knew there was no chance at all that these people would ever be able to find their way back, much less rebuild what had been shattered. So here's what Psalm 147 says, written to these exiles. How good it is to praise the Lord, to sing praises to the Lord. It is delightful and pleasant, fitting, appropriate. God restores Jerusalem. God brings the exiles back. The Lord heals the brokenhearted, binding up their wounds. The word brokenhearted in Psalm 147 verse 3 literally means shattered. Shattered to pieces. Like that glass they just threw in that broke. Shattered to pieces. So here comes God saying, the Lord heals the broken, the shattered hearted, binding up their wounds, bandaging their wounds. This is God promising to heal what has been irreparably broken. It's inner healing. Spiritual, emotional, mental, relational, social. Based on that verse, inner healing, this kind of healing when we've been shattered by something in the past, like the people of God had been shattered, carted away, no coming back, shattered. It takes time. That's why it says God heals the brokenhearted, binding up, bandaging their wounds. It's like a cast or a bandage, binding up a wound or a break so that it has time to heal. Years ago, Carla and I were helping her dad move, and we were using a pickup truck, and the tailgate accidentally came down on my hand, on my left hand. My left thumb ended up laying backwards against my wrist. My thumbnail was actually touching my wrist. It wasn't broken, but everything was torn up. So they put it in a cast, and I was to keep the cast on for 6 weeks. So here's what I did. After 3 weeks, I was impatient and I figured it's probably healed by now. And I took the cast off because I wanted to get back to playing guitar and playing banjo and mandolin and bass. All the things I was playing, I wanted to get back to that. My thumb has never been the same. And I wonder what would have happened if I would have been patient. If I would have just let the doctors be the doctors instead of me deciding to play doctor and take off my own cast. See, that's what happens, especially when it comes to this kind of healing from traumatic grief or abuse of some kind, healing of torturous memories. We get a little relief and we think, okay, and we self-sabotage. And we undo. We undo what only God can do. And then we wonder, well, God, why aren't you healing me? And maybe God says, you weren't supposed to take the cast off. You weren't supposed to yank the bandage off. You weren't supposed to take matters into your own hands. So if you need inner healing, like if you've been shattered and you need healing, emotional, mental, spiritual, social, relational, here's my suggestion. Make a list of all the ways that you tend to self-sabotage when you get impatient or when you experience a little bit of relief. Make a list of all the ways you think you know better than God, or than your therapist, or your doctor, or maybe your faith community, the people God has put around you like a cast or like a bandage. And it can be therapists, it can be doctors, it can be brothers and sisters in the faith. It can be a community of faith coming around us, binding our wounds, giving us support. See, God pulls out all the stops. God marshals all the human resources and divine resources to heal us from the inside out. But there's God's part and there's our part. Frequently, our part is to just be patient, to wait, to stay out of the way, and not go thinking that we know better than God. Guess what? God heals the brokenhearted, binding up our wounds, even when we've been shattered. Grace and peace.